Our mother went to use the restroom, sir, Quinn remarked, her tone carrying a hint of cautious politeness as she fixed Grayson with a steady gaze. And she told us not to speak with strangers, she added, her eyes flickering towards her younger brother Finn, who stood beside Grayson with an inquisitive expression. Finn, undeterred by his sister's warning, stretched out his small hands towards Grayson, fingers brushing against his face as he looked up with wide, innocent eyes. "Why do you look like me? Are you my daddy?" he asked, his voice a mixture of curiosity and wonder. Grayson couldn't suppress a soft chuckle at Finn's directness, though inside, his heart skipped a beat at the weight of the boy's question. Kneeling down to Finn's level, Grayson met his gaze with warmth and sincerity. "I'm not your daddy, Finn," Grayson began gently, his voice tender as he lifted Finn into his arms, feeling a surge of emotion at the uncanny resemblance between them. Sometimes, people can look alike even if they're not family. It's like a special coincidence. Finn pondered Grayson's words, his brow furrowing slightly in contemplation. Quinn, observing the exchange intently, softened her cautious stance, intrigued by the stranger who seemed to mirror her brother in unexpected ways. "He's right, Finn," Quinn chimed in softly, her voice gentle yet curious. "Maybe we just look alike, that's all." Finn nodded slowly, a sense of understanding dawning on his face. He looked back at Grayson with a small smile, a newfound bond forming between them. "Okay," Finn replied simply, his trust in Grayson evident. Grayson gently placed Finn back on his feet, a smile still lingering on his face as he bid them farewell. "Goodbye, Finn. Goodbye, Quinn," he said warmly, his voice carrying a touch of fondness. He straightened up and turned to walk away, his mind filled with thoughts of the brief encounter. He was really confused as to why these twins looked like him. Sophia hurried back from the restroom, her mind still on the day's events as she approached her children's table. As she neared, she caught sight of a man crouching down near Finn. Her steps quickened with concern, wondering who this person was interacting with her kids. "Sophia?" Quinn's voice broke through Sophia's thoughts, relief evident in her tone as she rushed over. Sophia's heart raced with a mix of worry and curiosity. "What happened? Are you two okay?" she asked, scanning Finn and Quinn for any signs of distress. Finn, his face lit up with excitement, exclaimed, "Mum, this man looks just like me." Quinn nodded in agreement, her expression serious yet curious. "He talked to us. He was nice," she added softly, casting a glance towards where the man had departed. Sophia's brow furrowed in confusion. "Look like you? What do you mean?" she asked, her voice tinged with disbelief. She glanced around, half expecting to catch a glimpse of the mysterious man, but he had already disappeared into the bustling crowd. Finn nodded eagerly, his words tumbling out in a rush as he tried to explain. He had the same eyes and smile. "Mom, just like mine." Sophia exchanged a puzzled glance with Quinn, unsure of what to make of their accounts. "Are you sure?" she asked, her mind racing with disbelief. Could it have been a coincidence? Or were her children exaggerating? Quinn nodded firmly, her gaze earnest. "Yes, Mom, he really did," she insisted, her tone sincere. Sophia hugged her children close, trying to make sense of the unusual encounter. She couldn't shake the odd feeling that lingered, wondering how a stranger could resemble her kids so closely. As she guided Finn and Quinn back to their table, her thoughts continued to circle back to the mysterious man and the strange resemblance that had left her questioning reality. As he drove, Grayson's thoughts drifted back to that fateful night years ago, haunted by memories he had long tried to bury. It was a reckless evening, fueled by too much alcohol, leading him to a room with a woman whose name he never knew. The details were hazy, but the aftermath was vivid in his mind. He remembered waking up the next morning, the woman asleep with her back turned, concealing her identity. The sight of bloodstains on the bed made his heart sink with shame, evidence of her lost innocence. At that moment, regret and self-disgust consumed him entirely. Without a word, he gathered his belongings and left, driven by a mixture of guilt and a desperate need to escape the consequences of his actions. Now, back in the present, the memory lingered like a dark cloud over Grayson's thoughts. The sight of Finn and Quinn had stirred something deep within him, echoing the consequences of that night long ago. He couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to their resemblance than mere chance. That perhaps fate was reminding him of a past he had tried so hard to forget. As Grayson reflected on his thoughts, his phone buzzed, snapping him out of his reverie. He glanced at the screen and saw it was a call from Cassandra, his ex-girlfriend. He sighed in frustration, wondering what she could possibly want from him now. With a mix of irritation and curiosity, he reluctantly answered the call. What does this woman want from me now? He muttered to himself, his voice tinged with exasperation, before bringing the phone to his ear to speak with Cassandra. Grayson hesitated, staring at his phone as Cassandra's call continued to ring insistently. A mix of irritation and curiosity gnawed him. Finally, with a resigned sigh, he answered. "Hello, Cassandra," Grayson greeted, his voice cool and distant. "Grayson, hi." Cassandra's voice came through, sounding hesitant yet determined. "I hope I'm not interrupting anything important." Grayson sighed inwardly, already knowing where this conversation might lead. "What do you want, Cassandra?" he asked, his tone clipped. There was a pause at the other end of the line, filled with a heavy silence. I've been thinking about us," Cassandra began tentatively, her voice tinged with regret. "About everything that happened between us." Grayson clenched his jaw, his grip tightening on the steering wheel. He had hoped to avoid revisiting the past, especially with Cassandra. "Cassandra," he interrupted firmly, "we've been down this road before." "I know," Cassandra hurriedly interjected, her tone pleading. "But please, just hear me out. I need to talk to you." Grayson hesitated, torn between his desire to move on and the lingering memories that Cassandra's voice evoked. "There's nothing left to talk about," he stated flatly, trying to cut the conversation short. "Please, Grayson," Cassandra implored, her voice cracking slightly. "I just need a chance to explain. I've been going through so much, and I miss you." Grayson closed his eyes briefly, feeling a pang of sympathy despite his frustration. He knew Cassandra well enough to recognize the vulnerability beneath her words. "Cassandra," he began with a sigh, relenting against his better judgment. "Fine, let's talk.